Talk. This morning, Megan and I will be talking about a couple of mysteries, new mysteries in our collection. So, Megan, I'm going to let you take it away.
Okay, so I'm going to be talking about Before She Was Helen, which is by Caroline Cooney. And she's actually the author of the Face on the Milk Carton series. She's mostly written thrillers and mysteries for teens. This is actually her first book for adults. And I didn't even realize that that's who it was at first, but I loved that series when I was younger. So that was interesting. So basically, the book is about Helen, and she's in her 70s, and she lives in a retirement community in South Carolina. And it's funny because the beginning of the book, you kind of think, oh, maybe this is like more of like a cozy mystery, I guess. It's a retirement community, and she plays cards with her friends and stuff. So you don't really know, like, where is this going? But then she's actually checking on her neighbor next door, and she can't find him. But she does find a piece of art, I would say a sculpture maybe, that she decides to take a photo of because she just thinks it's amazing. And she sends it to some family. Unfortunately, that piece of art is not exactly what she thought it was. I don't want to give too much away, but she sends it on, unfortunately, and its rightful owner sees it and is now sort of on a hunt to get it back. And then police later find a dead body in her neighbor's home, and she unfortunately was the last person that was there. So now they've got her fingerprints in the home, and they've also got this photo that she took proving that she was there. So she becomes a suspect. So what's interesting is when this all happens, we start to realize that Helen is maybe not who we think she is, and she has a past that she's worked really hard to sort of get away from and hide from everyone. So she took on a new name and a new identity, basically to kind of escape some things that happened to her in her past. And now that she's a suspect, those things are starting to come back up for her. So the story actually goes back and forth between the present and the 1950s when she was a teenager. And we sort of learn how she how she started out as Clementine and became Helen, and why. And I don't want to give too much away about that, but I did think it was kind of interesting. It did remind me a little bit of The Face on the Milk Carton because they're both very much about identity, I guess, and sort of hidden identities, I guess. It's also really interesting to see an older woman as a protagonist in a mystery. I feel like we don't see that very much. So this is a good one. I definitely recommend it. It's interesting.
That does sound really interesting. No, I really like the fact that she's an older protagonist. That's kind of interesting. I did look at that book and thought it might be fun to read. And of course, having the hidden past and all that makes it even more interesting. I
Yeah.
like the going back and forth between, when she was younger and older. I love that kind of stuff. So when you get the backstory and what really happened and how she got to where she is, I bet that will be really interesting.
And I also think the idea of sort of looking at how things were, especially for women and girls in the 50s compared to now,
Yeah.
that's definitely a big part of this story, which is interesting.
Yeah. The role of women has changed a lot since the 50s. I think young women today don't think that maybe, but it has. It's been, if you go back and look at it, there's been a lot of changes. So yeah, just that alone is interesting and cool. That sounds really fun. I love that. So I chose a book called A Galway Epiphany. This is by Ken Bruin. This is number 16 in his series of Jack Taylor, who is a ex-cop turned private eye. He lives in Ireland, and he's kind of retired, I think the premise is that he's retired, but he always gets pulled into these things that happen. So what happens at the beginning of the book is he gets hit by a truck. It's an accident, of course, or I think it is. We don't know. And he goes into a coma. He's in a coma for, I don't know, a couple of weeks or something. And when he wakes up, they're all talking about the miracle of Galway. And there's this story that these two young children helped him while he was, when he got hit. And so they think these were some magical, mystical thing. I don't know. So it becomes like a sacred site and everything. So, he's out looking for the children, and they're trying to figure out everything that happened. And of course, he's a guy who has a lot of demons in his past. He's not a real sweet, nice guy. This is definitely not a cozy mystery. He's very, I would say his style of writing, well, they call it stream of conscious. Somebody refers to as that, and I would agree. It's very stream of consciousness. And he's real blunt and straightforward, and his sentences are very short. And but honestly, I really enjoy it. He's kind of entertaining. He's definitely Irish. You can hear it from the moment he starts. You start the novel. He's got that nice. I can just hear the Irish brogue in my head. And he's just I don't know, interesting guy. I will give you a quote from someone who reviewed it. It was just gave him a 5 out of 5 star review. Said that, and I think it describes his writing. That's why I'm reading this one. To say that Ken Bruin ramped it up with this Jack Taylor novel would be a great understatement. The novel spares nothing and spares nobody. Its prose hammers like rivets punched into the pages, the reader holding their breath until the next punch, until the next sip of the J, as in his character J, until the next epiphany. So I think that gives a real sense of what he sounds like when he's writing. That voice that you hear when you read him. Sharp and sardonic. Those are other words that have been used to describe him. I think it's very interesting, and I think it's a pretty quick read. I think it reads quickly because of the way it's written. Like I said, they're very short, little blunt sentences. He's not afraid of swearing and using, those words that not everybody wants to read. And he's very brutal in his writing. But if you like that kind of thing, I think you'd be interested in reading him, and makes me think about, hey, maybe I should go back, because this is, like I said, it's number 16. So I think he's a pretty interesting character. Obviously, he's done really well. He's won, and Jack Bruin has won several awards for writing.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about this author. I haven't actually read him before, but
Yeah.
we've had people that come in that are interested in just the mysteries, but then also people who are really into like Ireland and Irish writers are really interested in
Yes.
him. So, because I know he
Yeah.
is Irish, so
Yeah, he is Irish. He's from Ireland and from Galway, I believe. So I think that just gives it another edge, another point of interest, that he really knows his subject, so to speak. I think he's kind of cool. So
definitely the opposite end of the cozy mystery spectrum, but a lot of
yeah.
people like that. So
Yeah, and that's one thing I find so interesting about mystery, is there's so many kinds of mysteries, from the cozy mystery to something like this, which is kind of brutal and rough, and like the one you have is kind of in between somewhere, and probably edges towards cozy, but definitely not cozy. I mean, it's just
right.
just really it's very cool that way that can happen. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't been a big reader of mysteries, so it's kind of new to me, I guess, finding out all these genres within the genre kind of thing. So those are our books review for this week. Of course, we encourage you to come in. We have hundreds more on our shelves, and we have lots of new mysteries waiting for you to come pick up. So I hope you'll come in and see us at the library. And next week we will be doing
Classics. Is that what it
is? Yes, I believe it's classics. So next week we're going to review classic books, which will be kind of interesting, both young adult and adult classics. So that should be a fun one. So thanks for listening, and we will see you hopefully at the library. Thanks.